So yeah, thanks, Malika. So as you just heard, I'm going to talk about accessible, not open. I suppose the caveat to what I'm saying today is I'm not an archivist. I'm not even a librarian. I just work in a library. My background is in history, so my PhD was in history. But I've worked in data management for about the last 10 or 11 years or so now. And certainly in the research data management world, one of the, I suppose, buzz phrases really that's come in the last 2 or 3 years is as open as possible, as closed as necessary, which feeds into what we've heard about in some of the earlier presentations today. I suppose what I'm going to focus on today is maybe not archives per se, but research data collected or created as part of academic research projects at universities or higher education institutions. And something I just want to kind of have in the background when I'm talking is kind of something that I think about quite a lot in my day job is, can data ever truly be anonymous? And if yes or if no, is it easier to anonymize quantitative data than it is qualitative data, for example? So these are just something I want to have in the background as I'm talking today. So related to this, some of you may be aware of an article that was published in Nature Communications in July 2019, which was entitled Estimating the Success of Re-Identifications in Incomplete Datasets Using Generative Models by Rocha, Hendricks, and de Montoya. And in their abstract, they state, using our model, we find that 99.98% of Americans would be correctly re-identified in any dataset using 15 demographic attributes. Our results suggest that even heavily sampled anonymized datasets are unlikely to satisfy the modern standards for anonymization set forth by GDPR and seriously challenge the technical and legal adequacy of the de-identification release and forget model. So again, so that kind of feeds into that thought I had earlier as to can we ever truly anonymize data, research data that's collected or created as part of projects. The other thing I want to bear in mind today really is certainly at a university level, we're not just talking about data protection, we're also talking about the ethical process. So something can be legal, but it may not be ethical. So I think there's those angles there that we need to consider as well. As regards open data, ESRC, so the Economic and Social Research Council in the UK, which primarily fund social science research, in their research data policy, they state that openly available research data with as few restrictions as possible means, in the ESRC context, that research data will be made available for reuse free of charge as open data, safeguarded data, or controlled data. So again, this is where we differentiate maybe between open and accessible data. So the UK Data Service, which is the ESRC's main data archive, they're not quite the same, so ESRC funds UK Data Service. Open data is data which are not personal and have relatively few restrictions to use. Safeguarded data are not personal, but the data owner considers there to be a risk of disclosure resulting from linkage to other data, such as private databases. And to access that type of data, users have to agree to the UK Data Service end user license. And then they have control data, which is their third level. And this is data which may be identifiable and thus potentially disclosive. And these data are only available to users who have been accredited and their data usage has been approved by the relevant data access committee. So you've got different levels of access, even to non-open data. So I just want to highlight a couple of challenges that this may bring, and this may bring that in discussion. When we're talking about accessible, are we just talking about accessible to humans, or are we also talking about accessible to machines, which is what we've heard about earlier today? Who acts as gatekeepers? So again, earlier presentations, archivists not wanting to be the controller and not wanting to block access as such. But in this type of model, there are gatekeepers to potentially identifiable data sets. And also, this is can be a relatively bureaucratic process. It has to get data requests may have to go through data access committees or similar. So again, you've got, do these put off other researchers from accessing this data because of the bureaucratic process or perceived bureaucratic process that they need to go through? So I'll just leave with those thoughts, I think, because I think my time's up, not over. and maybe some of that can be brought up in the discussion. Thank you.